Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for today's Research and Innovation Training Institute. We are pleased to present another session of our Summer Faculty Rise. Our trainer today is Dr. Grace Abolaji. She is presenting a training on graduate research assistants, mentoring undergraduate research assistants. So thank you, Dr. Grace, for joining us today.
Thank you, Ms. Karen. Thank you, everybody, for attending this seminar again. As Ms. Karen said, we're going to talk about the graduate research assistant, mentoring undergraduate students. It's going to be a more of interactive discussion to tell our experiences, especially the graduate student and the faculty that has graduate assistant, how they, use the graduate student to mentor undergraduate students. So I would really appreciate if everybody will participate and let us know what is going on, what we need to do, the challenges we face, and the corrections that we need to make. So I will appreciate if everybody will participate. Thank you so much again. But before we start the discussion, I would like to just say a few things about, what mentoring means to graduate students. And as usual, we all know that mentoring involves investing a lot of time, effort, putting in there to be able to direct and guide and supervise our students. Also, is also a form of, sharing our expertise. And some of the graduate students, they have some experiences that, might be useful for the undergraduate students. And of course, we all know that the mentoring is to enhance, another person's knowledge and skills. So having that in mind, we see that our graduate students will be able to mentor our undergraduate students. Also, how is it done? We faculty members, we already know, that the process of, mentoring our students. But for the graduate students, these are the important things that they need to know also, that, they need to lead a weekly discussion group for the undergraduates. We faculty members, we do that regularly. And it's the same thing for the graduate students too. Also, we find that, they should supervise, the students in running the experiments, especially for those that work in the lab. Also, is the responsibility or duty of the graduate students, especially for those undergraduates that are in honor program. It can be cumbersome, it can take a lot of time, but the graduate students, can help or advise the students on how to design, and collect data and run the data analysis. Also, it's really good if graduate students can share their experiences, their expertise, everything that, they've gone through when they were undergraduates. That will really boost the morale of the undergraduate students too. So those are the, major important things that the graduate students should have in mind in sharing and letting these undergraduate students know. I'm not, like I said, I'm not going to go into detail of what it is, what benefits we have. I just want all of us to be able to hear from the student and also the faculty on this mentoring, because the mentorship is really important in the undergraduate research program. A lot of studies are going on this also. So with that introduction, I will open the floor for discussion. And the way I think we should do it is that we call on each college or department that have this, that have the graduate students, and what their experiences are, whether they engage in, mentoring undergraduate students or not. So with that being said, I will open the floor and call each college that is present here to see, to tell us briefly, what their experiences are in pertaining to graduate students mentoring the undergraduate students when they are doing their research. Okay. Do we have someone from College of Agriculture? Let me see. Or do we just open it in such a way that, if you have a comment to make or just want to talk, you just indicate. No one from College of Agriculture? Okay, what about College of Business? Are we all there? Wow. Then I move on to College of Arts and Science. I know Dr. Quincy is here. Dr. Ashika. Who wants to go first, please? Dr. Moore?
Hey, Dr. Grace, how you doing?
Fine, thank you.
Good. So can you repeat your question for me that I need to discuss on?
Okay. We try to discuss what, the graduate students mentoring undergraduate students. We know that, faculty have been mentoring students, but some of us have graduate students too. So we want to encourage graduate students in the mentorship program of undergraduates. And so if we have any experience in our colleges or department or in our program, we want to know what the experiences are involving graduate students in the mentorship of undergraduates.
Well, our program, we haven't had a grad program in a while, but previously when we did have our graduate program, the graduate students were very beneficial to a lab, and the fact that it allows for a lot more interaction between the professor and the student. Sometimes the students don't really grasp, or there's some type of, they may feel a little intimidated to get information from the faculty member, but when there's a grad student, they feel more freer to ask questions that they think may not be the smartest question. So having that graduate student in the lab really pays a lot of dividends and actually makes a lot of impact on your research and allows you to get more done. I've done collaborations with labs that had grad students in there. And so my collaborators, they have about 5 or 6 students and undergrad students in the lab and have 2 graduate students. And they're able to just really push out a lot of information, a lot of results, and it leads to a lot of more grant funds because you get more data from having that interaction. So I think it's a great idea to have a grad student in the lab because they're able to, and to be honest, they have a graduate student in the lab is more focused on research than an undergrad, because a lot of times the undergrads are there for that moment, but the graduate students know that the research is going to equal their degree. So the graduate students going to put more effort and more energy not to count it out from undergrads. I've had some great undergrads, but I know with a graduate student there that they want to see the data, they want to see the results, and so that allows for them to get closer to their graduation date. And so while they're working on their projects, they can actually help train the undergraduates as they go forward in the different processes.
Wow, thank you so much. This is great information. And like I said, this will help us. As you know, we have both graduate and undergraduate faculty rights program in our department. And so, but have you had any interaction to seek personal opinion of how the graduate student felt and the undergraduate students also felt about, their collaboration and interaction in the lab, how it has helped each of them? Did you have any opportunity to have that, their self-evaluation?
No, I wish I would have. There's some people who have finished their degrees that probably could speak to that more, that came to the lab, that was a grad student here, and they actually are on faculty here. So I would have to contact, I will contact that person and let them email you their insight from having been a grad student at Purdue, then actually was in the lab with some undergraduates and high school students.
Mm-hmm.
Then went off to A&M and got a PhD, and now I'm back here on faculty. So I would ask them to email you and give a self-reflection on that interaction, how that paved the way for where they are now.
Yeah, thank you. I'll follow up with that.
Okay.
Thank you so much. I saw Dr. Ashika from chemistry.
Yeah, so I have used graduate students to mentor undergrads. The interaction was good because most of the time when the undergrads come, they don't have a lot of experience using like general stuff in the lab. So having a grad student to train at the beginning was very important. I see one of my undergrads here, so she can tell, I'm sure she has interactions with at least 2 grad students. So it was very helpful, both ways, for me as well as for the grad students. They teach something to the undergrads, so they develop confidence. And they can teach, so they will also, if they have a problem, they will also figure it out, what is the problem. And to keep the lab going, sometimes we cannot be in the lab all the time. We go for lectures, and so if you have a grad student taking care of the undergrad, that is very good.
Good. That's great. Did you also have opportunity to ask the students, both the graduate students and the undergraduates, how this kind of interaction has helped them?
As Dr. Moore said, sometimes with the undergrads, they come and go because they come. Summertime, it's good because they spend a longer time, but during the semester, they come and go because of their lecture times. So sometimes they, if the grad student is there, if something is going on, experiment is going on, they can help out, so that the experiment is not kind of terminated.
Okay. Yeah, from these 2 discussions, maybe we need to pay more attention to just, one of the times that we have meeting with the students, maybe we can have discussion with them to hear what they will say about their experiences with the mentoring, both from the faculty and also from the graduate students. Because I know the faculty are doing great job. And since we have the the graduate faculty rights also, we will encourage you to also use, the graduate students in your mentorship of the undergraduates. Like you said, this will be of great help. And also the interaction between the two, peer interaction, will be beneficial to both of them too. So thank you so much for the information. Any other person from College of Arts? We've heard from biology, and then we've heard from, from chemistry. Any other person from College of Arts and Science? Okay. Then we move to, what's the next college? I've called on business. Anybody from business, College of Business? Or do we have anybody that joined?
Grace, there's a question in the chat box, and from the various colleges and schools. If you have any questions, please just go ahead and put them in the chat, and we'll be sure to address them. But there's a question in the chat box.
Yeah, the question about the RISE.
Yes, about the RISE Research Assistant Program due later this month. Has that been addressed?
Okay. Last month,
Dr. Moore, if you would specifically state what your question is. It says, will the program choose assistants from our program? Dr. Moore, can you speak specifically on what your question, the heart of your question?
If we don't have a student identified from our specific department, if we submit the grant to for consideration, and does it have to have a student identified, or will we be able to choose the students later? Do they have a pool of students there who are interested in the grant, or do we need to identify a student, to be our research assistant?
Thank you for that question. And of course, Dr. Krishnamurthy is on the call now, as well as Dr. Abolaji. So Dr. Krish, do you want to address that question?
Right. Even if you do not have a student right now, you can still apply for the grant. And once you get the grant, you can hire a student to suit your project. So having a student is not a requirement for application. And we do not identify students, only faculty members do that.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Dr. Grace, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, just to support Dr. Krish, it would be best if you, especially for undergraduate students, it would be best if you have the name of the student, because we have another step that they will have to work with the student employment office. So if you want the student to start on time, it's best to put the student name on the application.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes.
And specifically with regard to graduate students mentoring undergraduate students, are there any other questions or any other input regarding that topic?
I was going to add.
Sure.
I'm sorry. Thank you for the invite to come to the meeting. My name is Peter Pegram. I'm actually a graduate assistant myself, but I started a mentoring program on PV's campus called Onyx Mentoring, where we take graduate students and they mentor undergraduate students. So I was just wanting to share some of my experience, if that would be helpful.
Okay.
One, we take graduate students by volunteer basis. They go through an application process to make sure they're prepared, because the biggest concern that most of the graduate students had was, were they prepared to be a mentor? They may not know how to be a mentor, but had the experience that an undergrad student would be able to learn from. So we gave them a 4-week training where they go through and they learn about code of ethics, confidentiality, those things that are important as a mentor. And the mentee is explained their role in the relationship as well, because just like the mentor has responsibilities, the mentee has responsibilities. And I heard some concern about mentees being and maybe leaving projects undone. That comes with great communication with them. And I say that because they are young and they may not understand the importance of some of the projects and the research that is being worked on. So we found that it was necessary to over-explain the importance of communication and being timely. And those are some of the things that we learned from our first semester with dealing with undergrad students. It's not that they can't do it or don't want to do it, but I think sometimes they don't understand the importance or their impact to the research. So we have to explain that thoroughly. And the other thing was to create a buy-in or an attachment to the research, showing them how it will impact them in the long run, what benefits the mentor-mentee relationship is to them as well as to the mentor. So we explain the benefits to both parties so that they can understand how this could be helpful. And it's been a good experience. My graduate students say that they like it because it kind of gives them a chance to share their knowledge and their experience as a graduate student, have already gone through what most of the undergrad are going through. They can say it feels good to be able to share that experience with somebody that wants to hear it, but they also have to kind of stay on top of their game because it's hard to mentor somebody if you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing. So that's another benefit for a graduate student, just reinforcing what they know, but also helping them to elevate where they need to go. So I think just my experience over the course of the last year during COVID, it's going to impact the relationships as well. And we found ourselves, along with the training that we provide, we had to add additional social support. And we had to realize, you're dealing with people and you're dealing with young people that may not know how to deal with some of the things that we're used to dealing with on a daily basis. We've grown calluses in certain areas that are not as sensitive to us anymore, that may be sensitive to them. So we have to look at the root cause behind some of them leaving the research project. It may not be because they don't want to do the research. It may be because they're dealing with something heavy that they don't know how to deal with. So those are considerations that you have to take when you're dealing with mentoring.
Thank you for sharing that. I really appreciate that. There were a couple of people who mentioned that either out loud or in the chat, there were people that mentioned that they may not have access to students if they were provided the opportunity that the RISE program offers. And you might be a good connection with your access to students. So please remember, Nikita. Dr. Grace, back to you. And then if there are no other questions, we can go ahead and wrap up our session for today.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you, Nikita. Actually, I have a detailed PowerPoint that mentions some of the benefits you talked about. I will share it with whoever wants it later. I just want us to do more of interaction. That's why I didn't go through the PowerPoint to share the detail. So thank you so much. I have this in the chat, Dr. Larry Hill. He said, I'm happy to
yes.
Yeah.
Yes. First, thank you, Peter. I did have a question for you, if I can start with that before sharing my experiences. Did you find when you're working with the undergrad students or graduate, were they seeing this experience as a job or more as a research experience, more of like a step in the ladder?
In most cases, they see it as more of a research experience, not really as a job, because many undergraduate students want to engage in research these days because some of them that have gone out to do like internship or interacted with some of their friends from other universities, they come up and say, are you going to have program for us? Or I want to do research. And some freshmen actually or transfer students, they love the fact that we have undergraduate research program here and they are excited, they want to get into it. Did I answer your question?
It did. It was specifically, I was trying to get Bequita's insight since she was working just at a different level with the students.
I found that with the undergrad, they looked at it as an opportunity to advance themselves to prepare for future goals. So when we look at mentoring, we look at it as a way of training and developing. So when we present it to the undergrads, that's how we present it, as a way to develop themselves and get ready for after college life.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that. As far as the undergrad, this was my first time submitting a proposal to the Undergraduate RISE. First time working with a paid student at PV, and it was really a great experience. I can say personally, I knew my student from class, and so I knew that she was top of the class, top 1% for sure, top 1% even amongst the different universities that I've worked at, as far as her work ethic, her drive, her goals, even the research experiences that she said she wanted. So I felt very blessed to be able to offer this opportunity to her specifically, and I know there was others that I would have offered as well if it was if there was more slots, for us. The administration of this for us was perfect, from the get-go. Getting through SEO, working with Grace, and just working through all the details. It was perfect. So it made the transition for her and I very smooth. Even in our research, which we were focusing on COVID-19, we're focusing on disaster research, we're focusing on medical social work. We were able to develop a training program for her specifically and for others in the future, and really get some great research pieces that she needed that wasn't coming out of the curriculum. Because we do have a research methods class, which is superior. Dr. Jackson teaches it. And then there's another level of the reality of the research. So we went from concept to application very smoothly, with this RISE program. And she was able to present, which now she can put that on her resume, going into the future. She can talk about it in interviews as she, continues to hopefully her master's and PhD in the future. So for us, it's been great. And so I've been trying to share that message with our faculty in social work, and so that we might be able to take advantage of the Graduate RISE program that's coming up. I think the deadline's coming up here on the August 12th, I believe. And so overall, it's been fantastic. So thank you everybody that's been a part of this. If there was one opportunity for growth, it would just be, I think it's what is it Ms. Pegram or Bequita? What you had in your networking. So if I knew about that before, I would have loved to bring my student along with you and have her engage, in that experience. And so that's the only thing that I see as far as growth. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Hill. I appreciate the experiences and the success so far. So we encourage you also to reapply this fall. And I think you can have up to maximum of 2 students if you want to increase it to 2 students. You can do that. Okay.
That sounds great. One question I did have. So will there be an opportunity for like any capacity building on campus where there might be like 1 or 2 locations where these RISE students will be housed?
The RISE students are, it is my understanding, and please step in, Dr. Grace or Dr. Krishnamurthy. My understanding is that the RISE students will be housed with the faculty or researcher that hires them. They'll be within your unit. Is that correct? Please correct me if I misspoke.
That is correct, Karen. The students will be associated with the faculty who mentor them, so on their research projects. We will not have any control over students because students are going to be directed and mentored by their research advisors.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Grace, do you have anything to add?
Yes. The hiring process, actually the requisition is out yesterday. So the student that you are going to put on your application, they can start, you know, to apply in Workday, yeah, in Workday. So the personnel form has to come from your department head. So all the process of hiring between SEO and the supervisor, you know, we are not involved in that. But we are involved in the faculty writing the applying, and we will review the proposal and do the selection and all that. So yeah, it will be, the student will be housed with the supervisor and the department that the supervisor is.
Fantastic, thank you.
So there is a wealth of information that is available both on our website, or if you have additional questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to Dr. Grace Abolaji or Dr. Krishnamurthy or any member of the Office of Research Advancement team and have your questions answered. We thank you so much for joining us today for the Summer Faculty Rise, and we hope that you'll join us next time for our next Faculty Rise. Thank you so much, Dr. Grace Abolaji. Thank you for everyone that attended, and we'll see you next time.
Hello, Emmanuel.
We've now, okay.
Yeah. You've not called engineering, you've called other faculty.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. You know, I was looking at the people that are present. Okay. Okay, can you please tell us your experiences, both
okay.
With the
Emmanuel,
graduate and the undergraduate?
Yes. Chemical engineering department. During the last fall and spring, I have 2 graduate students working on their research with me. I also have about 2 undergraduate students working on the same different parts of the projects. So I assign the undergraduate students to the graduate students so that they can work together on different sections of the program, and it works very well. We usually meet every week or every other week for presentations. So both the graduate students and the undergraduate students make presentations, and they work very well together. So it has been a good experience having both students to be working together with the graduate students, helping the undergraduate students, like mentoring. Thank you.
I could see some of the graduate students also present. I see Elizabeth Osadare, and then I see Ajalon Betty. Can each of you just tell us your experience about the mentoring, whether you got, if you're a graduate student, whether you, how you mentor the undergraduate students, and what are the challenges, and who wants to go first? Elizabeth and Ajalon.
Yeah, Elizabeth.
Okay.
Yeah, good day, everyone. I had a very fine experience working with an undergraduate, like with courage. I worked with courage very well. And the area where I know that it was having challenges like in design, because we were using Aspen Plus to design one of the simulation of one of our projects. So whenever he has challenges, I put him through. And apart from meeting together with our faculty, our professor, we used to schedule our own meeting privately to discuss how to move ahead, how to, and share experience, and then discuss our challenges before we can involve our, faculty. We don't always wait till when we have general meeting. We used to chat, we used to discuss. Then wherever there is a challenges, we put it, on email across to our professor, and he also put us through. It's been very quite interesting working together. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That's great. Ajalon.
Okay, can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Okay, for me, my experience working with grad students, because I am an undergrad, it really helped, especially when I came in. I came in my sophomore year and I'm a senior now. And so when I first came in, it was kind of, I guess, a little weird. It's like you take lab classes, but you're not really prepared when it comes to actually doing research long term. And so when I came in and I was being taught by the grad students that were under Dr. Fernando at the time, it was really great to kind of get that mentorship and to, have someone that you could just ask questions constantly, because like Dr. Fernando was saying, the professors can't really be in the lab all the time because they do have classes, they're teaching, they do have people that they have to advise. And so just having access to grad students, it was really helpful, because when I was not in class and I was in the lab, when Dr. Fernando could not be there, I could ask them any questions. They knew whatever it was that I was working on, they could help me with that, with all the basic steps. And over time, I kind of just caught on and everything was pretty easy from there. But grad students are very essential to mentoring the undergrad students, because it's like I will never forget, having that mentorship and having them there for basically just whatever I needed. And literally the grad student that was there, she would walk me through everything, all the different instruments that I would be working on. She would teach me how to use them. And just those skills that I learned from her was just very essential, because now, obviously I have no issue working with anything. And it's like now I can do the same thing for other new students that are coming in.
Thank you so much. We'll round up by asking Blessing Dyke.
Yes, good afternoon.
Yes, good afternoon.
Okay. Currently, I didn't have that opportunity to work with any undergraduates. I'm working with my fellow PhD students. There's one research we are doing now with NRG Energy. We are working together and we are learning from each other. But I would also like to work with an undergraduate if I have that opportunity. But currently, I'm working with my fellow graduate students, and we are doing really great. And I'm also happy for your office to grant me the opportunity to be a GA in your unit. I'm very happy with that. And I know that by the grace of God, we are going to make the university proud. Thank you.
That's great. Which department are you in, or which major?
Okay, I'm in an ECE department.
Pardon me?
ECE department, electrical and computer engineering department. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for everybody that have contributed. Is there anyone that still want to make a comment or contribute to this session before we end the section? Okay, if there are none.
Thank you everyone for attending, and we'll see you at the next RISE session in 2 weeks.